So we've heard tell that the Denver airport can be kind of a weird, creepy place, but apparently it's so weird and creepy that nobody wants to work there. The other day they had a job fair. They wanted 5,000 people to show up to fill 1,000 jobs. They got 100 people to show up and they only hired a handful. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to spend a little bit of time on Etsy in segments 2 and 3. There's a wonderful article about their CEO and their current business plans. In segment 2, we're going to talk about it from an investor standpoint. And in segment 3, we're going to talk about it from an Etsy shop owner standpoint because we happen to be both of those things. And you'll find some interesting business stuff in those discussions, even if you don't have an Etsy shop or any interest in Etsy at all. So, buckle up. Keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times because this is the Soule of Wisdom, and here we go. Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of the Soule of Wisdom. My name is Dan. I am here to guide you through the mayhem today. With me, as always, the harrowing, haunting hostess.
Hi.
Beffy, producer wife.
Haunting works. Week before Halloween.
Well, that's why I picked it. And you can be pretty harrowing sometimes.
I can.
Yeah. And you like Hostess cupcakes.
Not a ton.
Oh, well then why did I use the word hostess?
I don't know.
Oh. Maybe because you're like the co-host? But
Okay.
you're an est?
That works.
There's an S, hostess. Of course, you could be the hostess with the mostest.
This is confusing.
Then we'll put you to the test. And then another word that rhymes with that I'm not going to use.
You're just bringing out your Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, that's funny that you bring that up. Okay, so real quick, soulwisdom.com. Questions at soulwisdom.com. You can tweet us at soulwisdom. On our website, we have a tip jar if you'd like to support the show, stuff like that. Okay, now that that's out of the way, before we totally get off the rails here, you're right, I can Dr. Seuss just about anything. And it's a stupid, mad, crazy skill of mine.
Some of it's funny, some of it's borderline inappropriate. But, you know.
Well, that's why I don't do it on the show.
Yeah.
'Cause you never know where it's going to go.
Exactly.
And then, I gotta put that explicit tag on when I upload, and that's no fun.
Yeah.
So, but I was thinking, though, in the lead into this, how, I don't know how you are, dear listener, but we have soundtracks. And they're always running in our heads.
Yeah.
And it's stupid, crazy stuff. Like, as I'm getting stuff ready to start the recording, there was this episode of Family Guy where Peter and Quagmire form this, like, two-man band, and they sing these stupid songs. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just start singing, "Plane on a water, boat on a track," because that was one of their songs. And I have no friggin' idea why it popped into my head, but there it was.
Yeah.
I've now moved on. I've got a little bit of Neil Diamond going as I'm talking to you right now. And I don't even like Neil Diamond, but there he is. So whatever. How about you, Beffy? What's your soundtrack this evening in your head?
It's usually multiple songs kind of playing at the same time, and it just sounds like garble. But
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So you're like a broken jukebox.
kind of.
That explains so many things. The producer wife, I love her more than anything in life, but her brain goes 1,000 miles an hour in 100 different directions. So the fact that she just admitted to me for the first time in our 27 decades together that she has a multiple playlist going all at once.
Yeah. It's true.
I'm surprised you're able to stay as sane as you're able to stay.
That's why part of why I don't sleep well, I'm sure.
That could have something to do with it. Let's make the music stop! Oh, good lord. Okay, now that we're totally off the rails, but we always like to start off with something stupid.
Yeah.
So there we go, we start off with something stupid. Let's talk about something that's funny, sad, and stupid.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you're aware of this, producer wife or dear listeners, but there's like a, like a shortage of workers
Yeah.
in a lot of places.
Yeah. It's a thing.
Yeah, it made me just a little bit sad to read this particular story. So, before we lead into this, I will say that we have read some stories where they've had some success with like job fairs and stuff.
Yeah.
Was it Rochester, maybe?
Yes, I believe so.
Where they had some decent turnout.
Yeah.
And then you had read another story that you were telling me about where like was in Nevada or something where they were going to use
Las
they figured
Vegas.
they figured out a way to use federal funds to have the small business job fair, but the federal funds were going to be able to give these people signing bonuses.
Yep. So the small businesses didn't have to.
Yeah. So that's really cool stuff, and I think both of those events had decent turnout perhaps.
The Las Vegas one hasn't happened yet.
Oh, okay. I got them conflated. Okay. Well, hopefully the Las Vegas one has good turnout.
Yeah.
Because that's cool that they figured out a way to make that work.
Yeah.
But then there's this. So, visually gifted listeners on YouTube or Rumble, you may play along. The rest of you, listen to the sound of my voice. So yeah, then there's this. Denver's airport job fair hoped for 5,000 visitors. Only 100 people showed up.
Whoopsie.
And that was to fill 1,000 jobs at the Denver International Airport. Now, I will say that it could be just the fact that the Denver airport is creepy.
There is some creepy factor there.
Because that's the one that has like the murals of like soldiers with like masks on and, you know, death and destruction, stuff like that.
Everything you want to see during a pandemic.
Yeah, and it's rumored that there's like all sorts of different like bases and stuff going on underneath.
Yeah, like, aren't there like fallout shelters and...
Yeah, like a place for the government to run to type of thing. Or it is run by the Illuminati, or there's all sorts of rumors out there. But it is an airport that's kind of built where nobody needed an airport, from what I understand. So,
Yeah.
you know, with all sorts of cost overruns and, yeah, it's interesting. But anyways, Denver International Airport held... Oh, by the way, this is from Fox Business. All the news that's fit to print online.
Yeah.
I don't know. I make a different tagline for them every time. Anyways, Denver International Airport held a concessions job fair this weekend, hoping to see 5,000 eager prospective hires, but only about 100 people showed up, underscoring the staffing struggles companies across the nation, or across the country continue to face. We've got a very lofty goal to see about 5,000 people show up today. DCA, that's Denver Concessionaires Association President Dennis, name I'm not going to pronounce, so we're just going to call him Denny D, told ABC7, who helped organize the event in the United Club at Empower Field at Mild High. That's a name.
It is.
That's, well, I could pronounce that, though, where I couldn't pronounce Denny D's name. Only about 100 people ultimately attended the Saturday event. The job fair was intended to fill about 1,000 openings at the airport for jobs at stores, restaurants, and other businesses. Those openings also need to be filled sooner than later, as concessions will return to normal operating hours starting November 1st. I didn't realize that they had reduced hours there.
I didn't either.
That has to suck if you're a traveler.
Yes.
There was nothing more depressing to me. For a certain time, Producer-Wife and I were flying back and forth to the Midwest to take care of some family stuff a few years ago. And we would end up getting in at like 2, 3 a.m. sometimes. And I'm really wanting a bite to eat, or a coffee, or a soda.
Nothing open.
Or a shot. Something. But yeah, everything's locked up. And the vending machines are empty.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's horrible. So that really sucks, but I don't know if we'll ever fly again, so doesn't matter to us, I guess. Anyways, we've got anything from entry-level positions all the way up to top executive management available out here. Skyport Hospitality has more than 150 openings to fill alone. We are at such a staffing deficit that we'd be grateful for just 5, but we're looking for over 150, Elisa Lalama, HR Director for Skyport Hospitality, said. We were expecting the masses to come knocking on the door. That didn't happen, apparently. Concessions International has 8 concession locations, including Chick-fil-A at the airport, and is looking to fill 38 jobs, but only 2 applied. And yeah, there's a little more, but they're just repeating themselves, so we don't need to go into that.
I wouldn't want to be hiring now. I remember when I was hiring before, and you could be choosy. You could actually pick people that you thought would make a good fit. I feel like at this point in time, unless there's something egregious on their application, you kind of have to look at it and go, okay. I mean,
I
what
think
other choice do you have?
I think you need to look at the egregious ones. You've done 3 robberies. Were they armed? No? Okay. As long as they weren't armed. No, good Lord. That's so bad. To have that many, first of all, to have that many openings.
Yeah.
That's a frightening number of openings for a pretty major hub
Yeah.
to have. But then to have 100 people show up. You can't tell me that in the greater Denver area there was only 100 people looking for work.
No. So there's lots of different what ifs here, but I wonder also, stuff like this, these type of job fairs, usually get promoted in the newspaper and on the news, like on TV news.
Yeah.
The age group that they're likely targeting don't consume media that way.
That's true.
So with some of these job fairs, is it an issue of they're trying to lure younger people but using the same tactics they did 20 years ago? Because no one under the age of 40 gets a newspaper. No one. I'm just going to say that.
I don't know if it's under the age of 60 at this point.
But those same people aren't watching the news. I mean, if they're getting bits of the news, they're digesting it how they want to, which is,
Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, YouTube maybe.
Yeah.
Or going to their favorite, news outlet.
That's an interesting take that I had not thought of. If they're not advertising the thing right. But then how do you advertise to reach these people? Because there are so many laws now with regards to email and text and stuff. You can't just go buy a list. These people have to be like opted in. I mean, I suppose you could buy, advertisements on things like YouTube and whatnot. But let's be serious, when they're not listening to the beautiful sounds of voices like ours, as soon as they can hit that skip button on a commercial, they're skipping it. And, so many of us just use ad blockers now, so that kind of takes away a lot of the effectiveness of the banner ads and things like that. I don't know. Get a billboard and hope they drive by it.
Maybe.
Yeah, this is a tough nut to crack for so many businesses and so many people right now. But I was just floored by that. At first I was floored by that they needed 1,000. And then that they only got 100 that showed up. And yeah, they're not all going to be hireable. Because at least one in that crowd did use the gun.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's, this is one where I'd like to be able to say at this point in the segment, this is how you solve it. Go do A, B, and C. But I'm not sure, because
I think they at least have to look at the potential of advertising in different ways, because I'm pretty sure they're not looking at social media for advertisement, and I think they need to.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's a good take on it. The other thing too is there's just so many people that came out of this pandemic, which these are the people I think honestly that want to claim that we're still in it, but they've come out the other side not even wanting to work now. So I don't know what you do about that, but honestly, I'm not sure how these people are living.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
At some point,
they're going to run out of money.
Yeah, at some point, Vito's going to come calling for the VIG, and they're going to have to pony up. I don't know. But, yeah, this one just really struck me as really confusing. And again, my brain keeps turning because I want to have an answer for it. And the best I can think of is the one you just gave, that maybe they're advertising it wrong. But I mean, and these were positions that were there before. It's not like they're new ones. So they were presumably staffed before all this went down.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, and not to be cold and crass, but we didn't lose that many people to COVID that we should be down this many workers in our society. yes, I'm not a denier here. There are people that lost their lives, and that's very sad.
Are there
But it
state
wasn't that
laws?
devastating.
Are there state laws that like prohibit a company once somebody is no longer at a job for trying to call them back to rehire them, or
I don't think so.
because that would be the first thing I would do. I mean, unless it ended on totally terrible terms,
Yeah.
to try to rehire those people.
Well, I think a lot of them too are probably trying to hold out for more and more money because that's like a thing now too.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go back for the $15 an hour I was making before. Now I want 30,
Yeah.
and that's a thing. People wanting like double what they had before
Yeah.
because they feel like they're in a good enough position. But you can only play chicken to a point because at some point it just becomes too expensive, and the business either finds a way to automate or they close.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Alrighty, well, we just thought we'd share that little tidbit with you. Again, you look around and there's some glasses half full kind of things, like the couple of examples that we gave, but then there's stuff like this, just a complete flop and a failure. And you know, if you're in a place like that too, I mean, it might not be your dream job, but that's a place that's always open and it's not going to be at risk of closing. So these are good, steady jobs,
Yeah.
that can, help put food on the table and keep a roof over your head. So it kind of shocks me that only 100 people would turn up. But whatever. So, hey, if you live in Denver and you know somebody that needs a job and is actually willing to take one, send them to the airport because they apparently have about 997 more to fill after the job fair.
Right.
So go check that out. Okie dokie, we're going to take a short break and then we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about a subject that's near and dear to our hearts, which is Etsy. But we're going to talk about it from two different angles. We're going to put on our investor hat, and then in the segment after that, we'll put on our actual Etsy shop owner hat. If you don't have an Etsy store, you'll still find this interesting, I think, because we're going to talk about things from two different perspectives that I think would apply to a lot of people, not just those involved with Etsy. So hang tight, and we will be right back.
Yeah. I'm here to get down. It's a whole new sheriff in town. Talk to me now. I carry the crown. No surprise that I wear it around. Talk to me now. Baby, you the whole shebang. You should really come and party with me. Then we can rock, drop. Then maybe we could do it again. Talk to me now. Girl, I'm fine down and you a centerpiece. Perfect pink diamonds go for 10 apiece. Buy the whole thing, I can't
Welcome back from another world-famous Soule of Wisdom musical interlude. Face it, folks, nobody has finer bumper music than we do. Or maybe they do. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We're having fun. Hopefully you are too. So during the break, we took a nap because we're tired. But that's okay. We're working on it. You can't tell. We found our lively.
Yes.
As Beth is like squinting at me, she's like, ah.
I'm just squinting because the lights are bright.
Little drools coming down the side of her mouth.
That was because I ate candy.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course we ate. And there's our food segment for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
show. Food is always mentioned here at the Soule of Wisdom. All right, so we're going to take the next two segments and talk about Etsy, which is a subject that's near and dear to our heart because we have many different ways which we make our money here at Dan and Beth. But one of the more fun ones is our Etsy shop. It's fun because we get to be artists to make our living there. Now, we also have our website, and we do a lot of our business there too. But before we ever had the website, we started out with Etsy on this creative kind of journey, that portion of our income. And it's fun, but it's also changed a lot over the years that we have been in it.
Yeah.
Some of it makes sense. Some of it, you just kind of shake your head. But isn't that just about everything?
Yeah.
So that's no different. But I ran across an article on Forbes the other day regarding their CEO and kind of their approach to things and stuff. So I thought it would be fun to approach this article from two different angles. So for this segment, I want to approach it from the angle of the investor, the appreciator of how a business runs.
Yeah.
And we do have a few shares of Etsy, so we are an investor in them. And then for the next segment, I thought we would approach it as actual Etsy shop owners and kind of tear into it that way, because we have the unique perspective of being able to look at it from both angles. So I'm going to look at it from both angles. And again, if you are not familiar with Etsy, you'll probably learn a thing or two during these segments. If you don't care about Etsy, that's cool. But there's kind of some businessy stuff here that I think will probably universally apply.
Keep Etsy in the back of your mind, especially if you can't find the Christmas gifts you're looking for when you're out and about on the soon-to-be barren shelves.
I have been saying forever now, it feels like, that the small micro kind of businesses are going to be the ones that win Christmas, and a lot of them are on Etsy. So pay attention to it. All right, back to Mr. Browser for the visually gifted. From Forbes, as promised, how Etsy is giving AI to its army of 5 million artisan entrepreneurs to build the anti-Amazon. That's a lot of A's going on in that. Josh Silverman using cutting-edge technology to transform Etsy from a hippie flea market into a Wall Street hero without losing its soul. Okay, so I'm going to read the article so we have a basis for it, and then we'll discuss it from the two angles. Deal?
Deal.
Okay. On April 2, 2020, during the chaotic early days of the pandemic, Etsy CEO Josh Silverman awoke to a sales shock. Every 4 hours, the company's data junkie boss received an update on the volume of personalized pillows, hand-sewn stuffed animals, vintage Victorian lockets, and millions of other one-off items sold to the digital marketplace. Silverman had been rushing to cut Etsy's market spending to prepare for the COVID-induced slump, but the latest report showed a surge. The source: face masks. The press was reporting that the Federal Center for Disease Control was soon to recommend face coverings for all Americans, with inventory already difficult for first responders to find. Civilians were flocking to Etsy's ragtag community of hobbyists for their pandemic protection. Until that day, if you searched Etsy for masks, you'd see Halloween costumes or face cream, says Silverman, sitting cross-legged on a handmade modern wingback chair in Etsy's still deserted Brooklyn headquarters. We had an emergency meeting to decide whether to double down on the masks. The team was split. Some saw the face mask market as a fad. To others, it offered a chance for Etsy to show off the power and flexibility of its decentralized, nearly 3 million strong seller community. This was our Dunkirk, where we could mobilize cottage industry and come to the rescue, says Silverman, who is 52. The world's supply chains had locked up. You couldn't get face masks, yet Etsy's supply chain was just 2 hands making masks. Etsy rallied its sellers, emailed them info on mask materials and designs. Programmers retooled their site towards selling PPE. The marketing team peppered the web and social media with ads. Within a day, an army of 10,000 independent crafters were hawking masks on Etsy. Within 2 weeks, 100,000 sellers were. By the end of 2020, Etsy had moved more than $740 million in masks, accounting for 7% of its $10.3 billion in gross sales. It turned out to be perfectly positioned for the pandemic. Sellers had more time to craft furniture, arts, toys, and quarantine customers were looking to buy it all. Etsy's annual revenue increased 111% to $1.7 billion. Net income was up 264%. Home suddenly became your office, playground, and daycare center, says Jefferies analyst John Colantuoni, I guess. That drove demand for unique and handmade products. Since COVID's March 2020 lows, Etsy shares are up some 600%, torching the NASDAQ, which is up 115, eBay, which is up 175, Walmart, which is up 35, and Amazon, which is up 100%. The 16-year-old company is worth just shy of $30 billion. Active buyers and sellers on Etsy have doubled to 90 million and 5 million respectively. With most of the digital retailers, growth has slowed in the second half of 2021 as the economy has reopened, but analysts are betting Etsy will hit a 30% sales increase in 2021. Let Amazon, Walmart, and Target battle to deliver mass-produced items as cheaply and quickly as possible. Etsy has empowered an eclectic and mostly female community of crafters with the same cutting-edge AI, data science, and marketing tools that the retail giants use. In doing so, Etsy, a member of Forbes' Just 100 list of the top corporate citizens, has provided millions of moonlighters with crucial income and purpose in a time of unprecedented layoffs, lockdowns, and dislocations. Says Silverman, our mission is to keep commerce human. Etsy has always been the crunchy kid at the country club, founded by Brooklyn artisan Rob Callan. It churned through CEOs before going public in 2015 as a certified B Corporation, beholding to strict environmental and community standards. Wall Street hated its do-gooder stance and its red ink. In 2016, Etsy's net losses grew 45% to $54 million. The next year, investors Black and White Capital, TPG, and Dragoneer bought up shares, hoping to force Etsy to sell itself. Etsy pushed back. The board scrambled for a CEO to balance its mission-based employees and its money-obsessed investors. Silverman, who had joined the board in 2016, seemed a good fit. Raised in Ann Arbor, Silverman got a BA in public policy at Brown in 91, worked for progressive New Jersey Senator Bill Bradley, and later earned a Stanford MBA. In 98, he co-founded Evite, the online invitation manager, before spending 5 years leading eBay's marketplaces abroad. He turned around the struggling Skype in 08 and later ran American Express's credit card business from 2011 to 2015. With a maniacal focus on upping Etsy's gross sales, he quickly slashed staff, departed most of the international regions, and cut projects that would create at least 10 million that wouldn't create at least 10 million in gross sales. That included Etsy Studios, a craft supply website that 150 people, about 15% of Etsy's total staff, had spent 18 months building. He improved Etsy's search tools, scrapped the in-house servers for clouds, and invested in customer service. By 2019, Etsy's market cap had risen 300% to $5 billion. In all, since Silverman took the helm, the shares have returned some 1,800%. Prior to the pandemic, Josh did a great job of focusing on things that move the needle on gross sales. It positioned Etsy to benefit from the demand surge. One challenge: enabling customers to find a one-of-a-kind product on Etsy as easily as they can find a commodity on Amazon. To improve search and product recommendations, it's building AI-powered computer vision tools to identify, tag, and create structured data for its millions of unique items. Notorious for slow deliveries, Etsy is also raising expectations for sellers. Crafters are being pushed to provide transparent timelines and improve customer communication. A new dashboard will show vendors how they rate for customer service and satisfaction. Overachievers will get higher visibility on the site. You need to do what our sellers need, not want, says Silverman. To serve the sellers, you need to obsess over the buyer experience. That was long, but informative. I know more about Josh Silverman now than I knew before.
It's true.
I know a little bit about how he thinks. So, with your investor / appreciation of a big corporation hat on, Madam Producer Wife, what are your thoughts initially?
I definitely think that they have made strides. Obviously, they are a much more profitable company now than they were before. And I actually told you that there was, even way before this article even existed, but at the beginning of said pandemic, that I thought Etsy was going to blow up for masks and things like hand sanitizer because there were people who were making it at home.
Yeah. No, I agree. As an investor, I applauded at the time, and I continue to applaud it. I appreciated that they saw an opportunity and jumped on it, because we talk a lot about the need to be nimble and, turn the speedboat, not the Titanic. And you could call Etsy a Titanic, but somehow they did manage to turn it as a speedboat. And we'll get into our side of it in the next segment, but I will say, because we were exposed to it, everything they said about the whole mask launch thing did actually happen, because we got the emails too.
Yeah.
make masks. Well, that's not even close to what we do, so we weren't going to make masks.
Yeah.
But
Nobody wants a wooden mask.
no,
They're hard enough
funny.
to breathe out of.
Ooh, or a good resin one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you use some of the resins are pliable enough.
Yeah.
The ones that we use over our paintings, that could probably work. It's probably toxic, but you can't have everything.
That's true.
Yeah. But no, so what they described actually is what went down,
Yeah.
and a lot of people to get mobilized, and there were like masks everywhere. So that was good, and you can't argue with the numbers results.
No.
I mean, that is in our portfolio. It is not the top performing stock from a percent gain, but it is number 3. So it does really well, and to their point, that was a company that was running in the red, and I remember reading about the various rumors of buyouts and sales and everything else, and you're wondering as a owner of a store on Etsy, is this platform going to be around?
Yeah.
I don't think there's much of a question it's going to be around now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very much running in the black. And
It's here for the foreseeable future, at least.
Yeah, and if you are any kind of an artist, it's kind of the place where you've got to have a presence.
Yeah.
I don't know if it should be the only place, but it is definitely the place to start.
Yeah.
So you can't argue with that. I mean, the dude seems to be fairly dynamic. Definitely obsessed with making things work. I mean, he's worked for some big names, eBay running their overseas operations, American Express. He also doesn't appear to be shy about making decisions, because they were talking about all the things that he just cut because it wouldn't make at least 10 million.
I also found it interesting that he grew up in Ann Arbor, because Ann Arbor is a very artsy area.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that. So that kind of fits. Because I will say, though, there's other than maybe growing up in Ann Arbor, he doesn't exactly have a lot of artsy bona fides.
No.
I mean, but he's definitely got it on the business side. And again, as an investor, you can't argue with the numbers.
Well, your background isn't really in art either.
No, it's not.
Neither is mine, and that's still what we're doing. So.
Yeah, that's still a huge portion of what we do. We also don't have a background in podcasting. I'm hoping that doesn't show too horribly right now. But whatever. Y'all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say from what I've been able to see on the investor side, what they're portraying does match up with the results. And as an investor, I can't argue with the success that he has had and the things that he's done.
Yeah.
Because if you got shares, they're making money. So that's good.
Yeah.
Now, I might have a different view after the break here as an Etsy shop owner. Let's just see what happens, shall we? So take a break. We're going to retool our brains to have the discussion from a different angle, and we'll be right back.
Peace, what up, world? Hello, how you doing? Who, me? I'm very well, thanks for asking. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien. This is Bay Area influence. Yeah, feel that. Take that. Yeah. You see, I've been chilling out on the West Coast lately. Oakland, California to be specific. Soaking up the sun.
Welcome back, dear listeners. We have retooled our brains, and we're now going to look at this topic from the other side. Hopefully you have cleared your mind, and I apologize for having to read a really, really long article to you, but I'll be honest, I read through that thing like 4 different times going, what can I cut? What can I cut? And it all just felt a little too critical to cut much of anything. So I tried to skip a sentence here and there at least and help you out that way, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and hopefully I didn't burn your ears out too badly.
No.
If I did, send your complaints to questions@soulofwisdom.com. And we'd be more than happy to help you with that.
When we get to the Joe Rogan status and we blow up, we'll have to make some subcategories in there instead of just questions at. It can be complaints at, and
yeah. And we're down to about 3 weeks now on that Joe Rogan plan.
I know.
So listen, Everybody tells you this, but it is really, really important. If you are listening to this program, and you would all appreciate it. If you are on YouTube, you need to thumbs up, you need to subscribe, you need to hit the notification bell. If you're on Rumble, you need to hit that little punchy thingy. I don't even know what they call it.
They call it Rumble.
Is it just called Rumble?
I think it's just called Rumble.
Okay, well, rumble us. Tweet out the show. If you're on if you're listening to us on a podcast platform and they allow you to do things like thumbs up or leave us 5-star review or whatever, please do those things. Every platform is different, so we can't tell you exactly what to do, but you can figure it out because our listeners are smart listeners.
You can share it on Facebook. You can do lots of things.
You can send out smoke signals. You can run to your neighbor Gertrude next door and say, Gertrude, you got to hear these people. And she's going to say, what? Well, that's a podcast.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to educate her. And yeah, it's going to take you 3 or 4 hours, but you'll get through it.
And if you're young and you still use it, you could send out a Snap. I mean, I think there's still people that use Snap. Though I believe I read that their stock did not do so well in their last earnings report.
Shocker.
Yeah. But it does still exist.
Fair. Whatever your mode of operation for this, do please help the show out, because the reason why this stuff makes a difference, and everybody tells you this, is that the more this stuff happens, the more the algorithms figure out that this is a show that people should have access to. So it starts showing up in searches.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. The more this happens, the more we show up in front of people. So
Ooh, I know. They could make a dance and they could link us through a TikTok.
Ooh. That's a nice one.
Soule of Wisdom dance.
We might need to have a contest on that or something at some point. We'll keep that in mind. Okie dokie. So we have put on our Etsy business owner hat now. Look at this.
Creator hat.
Creator hat, yes. So we're still business people. We love our art, but everything we do, we approach as a business. And if we can't make $1 doing it, we're not going to do it. That even comes down to the art that we make. We have designs that we fall in love with, but if they don't sell, they're out. We're not messing around. So we've
had lots of cool ideas that when we've done the math on it, is not profitable.
Doesn't work. So we don't do it. I have a lecture in the teachable course, soulewisdom.com, S-O-U-L-E wisdom.com/learn, and you can access the teachable course about Etsy. But one of the lectures is, should you make what you want to make or what the customer wants? And I'll let you figure out what the answer to that question is, because you probably already heard it in the last minute, if you were paying attention at all. But I also have a lecture, and I believe it might be one of the free ones too, about what Etsy is and what Etsy is not.
I believe it's one of the free ones, but let me check. Keep talking and I'll check.
And what Etsy is, I'm just paraphrase a couple of points from this one, but what Etsy is a publicly traded company that needs to make money for their shareholders. And what we proved in the last segment is they do that very well. But it also means that what Etsy is not is your drop-dead, fight-to-the-death partner, because they're not. And that article that we just read through kind of proved it, but producer wife's raising her hand. So.
Oh, no, I was actually just scratching. But you misinterpreted. But no, anyway.
You scratch weird. You're like waving your hands like, stop! I'm like, oh, no, I just had an itch. Okay.
So what Etsy is and what Etsy is not is one of the freebies that you put out there, and it's also available on our YouTube platform.
It is. You can find it either place. And if you listen to it on the YouTube platform and you decide to sign up for the course, rumor has it I mentioned a coupon there.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Yeah. So you might want to check that out. Anyways. But yeah, what Etsy is not is your drop-dead fight-to-the-death partner. And I think they kind of show that in some spots in this article. We were talking at break about their CEO, Josh, here. And the one thing that we noted that he does not have is any kind of bona fides when it comes to the art.
Yeah.
We expanded on that in our minds. and we came to that definite conclusion. Now, dude's got business experience for sure. Running eBay's overseas operations is not a small thing.
No.
Running the credit cards for American Express is not a small thing.
A lot of people like to compare them, but also eBay and Etsy are not the same.
No, they're not.
At least 90% of the things that are sold on eBay are resold, mass-produced items.
Yeah, the Etsy shop owner in me took a little bit of offense in the Forbes article when they called it like this flea market.
Yeah, I did too. I cringed. I was like, hippie flea market.
Yeah, because the flea market's eBay.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, we've got an eBay store too. So it's not like we're scared of the online flea market. But that's not what Etsy is.
Now you can find what people will call like vintage items. And so you can find like used clothing and stuff like that. But it's usually actually is vintage or older or like from the 80s, or it's a higher name brand type thing. But most of the time, if you're going to go and look for any type of used clothing flea market type thing, you're going to go to eBay, you're going to go to Mercari. What are some of the other ones? Poshmark, stuff like that.
And honestly, you're not going to be going to Etsy for the vintage much longer. They're starting to axe those listings.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they're claiming that there's a lot of fraud with them. There's a lot of chargebacks. There's a lot of complaints. So more and more of those listings are going to the wayside now.
We've actually sold some vintage things.
We have, and I never will again.
Well, no, we will. We'll just put them on eBay.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't put them on Etsy because that's also causing a lot of the vintage shops I've read are the ones that are being targeted to have reserves put on them.
You'll have to explain to the audience what that is.
Well, I'm going to.
Okay.
Yeah. So a reserve is where the company holds a percentage of your sales for a certain amount of time, just in case you have any issues, like a chargeback or a customer complaint or something like that.
Which is kind of bullpucky because they also require you to have an active credit card on file if there is a problem, because then they could just hit your credit card for it. So them holding your sales dollars and having a credit card on file is overkill.
It is.
Especially if you're not getting negative feedbacks and, all of your stuff is in good standings. There's no reason for that.
So
explain your theory why they're doing it, though.
Oh, to hold money.
To hold money because...
Yeah, well, I'm getting there.
Okay. Give them the whole story, Dan.
I'm going to. Producer wife's on fire right now. She was like sleepy a few minutes ago. Now she's like, I'm alive. Tell them faster. Patience. Anyways, no, what they're trying to do is they're trying to hold on to as much cash as possible. So the shops that are in reserve, they hold on to it for up to 90 days. So what happens every 90 days? A quarterly call. And they can say, well, we have X amount in cash reserves because they're holding on to 75% of certain sellers' revenue for up to 90 days, which is a big chunk of money.
Yeah. I have to imagine they're going to lose sellers over this.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. Because
that's an overreach by far.
Oh, it is. And not everybody's positioned like we are. If they put a reserve on our shop for some reason, we could weather that storm. But a lot of people can't.
No.
So.
And for a lot of people, it doesn't. The math then doesn't make sense either, because you're spending. I know there's plenty of people who spend at least 40 hours a week on their shop. That's a lot of time to only get 25%. Oh, and by the way, the 25% that you get to keep if you do have a reserve on your shop, they take all your fees out of that portion, not out of the portion they keep. So you're really only getting, like 10%?
Tops.
Which is just horrid.
Yeah. No, it really
and you
is.
still have to ship it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's to pay for your shipping and everything else. It's a mess. But... that's for the shops that have gotten there. But anyways, got a little off the rails.
I got on a soapbox. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Soapbox complete.
Yes.
Anyways, to just circle back a little bit, what Etsy is not is this hippie flea market that Forbes portrayed it as. What it is a community of artists who all have different art. And this is where Josh's lack of artsy bona fides comes into play.
Yeah.
So they're talking about these standards that they're trying to hold sellers to, of you need to be clear about how long something takes to make, and it has to ship within that amount of time. And if you fall out of that range, that's another thing that I've read is starting to trip the reserve switch for people. But it becomes a problem because everybody's art is unique and has a unique set of circumstances around it, and this is what Josh doesn't recognize. For us, for example, even within our shop, everything has a slightly different timeline.
Yeah.
We can get resin earplugs, the gauges for the people with the stretched lobes. We make those, and we can get those done in a matter of a few days, generally.
Yep.
So we have a shorter lead time on that. Our rings can take us up to 2 weeks, and often that's just because of the amount of orders that we have in the queue at any given time. So that's set accordingly. A knife stand can take us about 14 days. A saya, which if you're not familiar with what a saya is, it's basically a wooden knife sheath, just Japanese in nature. Those are immensely popular, but every one of them, every single one has a different lead time because of the fact that the customer has to provide us with information on their knife.
Yeah. And
Some of
every
them-
knife is different.
Every knife is different. We can't make them generically.
And you've even made a giant one for
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I made
Like a
one that
mini
was like
samurai
26 inches long.
yeah.
That thing was a monster. There's a video of that up.
Yep.
Search out Art and Soul on YouTube, and you'll find our Art and Soul YouTube page. We've got a video for it. Check it out. It's pretty cool. But just within that one product, that one listing, there can't be any kind of a standard kind of time because that's done in collaboration with the customer. And we've had some customers who overnight us the information. And then we've had other customers that have taken 4 months.
Yeah.
But now they've put us in a position where if the customer doesn't get us the information by a certain amount of time, what we've started doing is we just send that customer a certificate now to say, here's your certificate, send it back with the info when you're ready, and then we'll make your saya just so we can close out the order on time.
Yeah.
Which is just foolhardy. But he doesn't recognize the fact that every piece of art is different. It's just not that simple. But again, I've talked before about how things should be managed from an exception basis. If you have a shop that's clearly getting a lot of complaints and clearly is having a lot of issues filling orders and stuff like that, well, then go deal with that shop.
Yeah.
And don't tell me you don't have enough metrics and data to figure that out where it'll trip a report, and then a human can look at the report and go, yeah, that shop's a problem, let's go follow up with them.
Yeah.
They got plenty of data for that.
There's a segment here that we should talk about in the next episode. The woman that had a Facebook video up about Etsy.
Yeah. No, I totally want to do that.
We should talk about that tomorrow.
Okay, it's done. So tune in tomorrow because we're going to tell you the story of a woman who got her shop sort of suspended for a little while.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't shipping fast enough, and the robots caught her. It wasn't a human that caught her; it was the robots that caught her. But we'll also discuss her reaction to it because that was lacking a little bit too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we figured out one episode for tomorrow.
Yay.
But anyways, just to again circle back to right now, this lack of understanding of how everybody's art is different kind of leads to two problems for me. Problem number one is you're going to have artists leave the platform over it.
Yep.
And it's going to be your good ones too.
Yeah. Which gives less variety to the customers who are coming to look and make a purchase.
What will end up being left, this is the other piece of it, is the people who aren't necessarily as good, but they're on Etsy with a whole lot of hope and a little bit of talent. Going, I don't care, I'll do whatever it is I have to do so I can make money. But the problem with that is that's not going to be as good of a product in most cases.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be hurried out. It's going to be the people who are still developing their skills. I'm not going to say their skills are subpar. They have more growth to do.
Yeah.
our art has grown. Our art now is, leap years, some kind of years. 6 years. It's 6 years beyond what it was 6 years ago.
Well, I mean, when we first started, we sell a couple of, I was going to make a point about rings as an example, because we sell a couple of different kinds of rings on our site, and they all take a different amount of time.
Yep.
So the other thing is you can't have these corporate entities running reports or just looking at a single category saying, oh, well, rings should be able to be delivered within, 2 days. And because that's not realistic either, because we do solid wood rings, we do bent wood rings, and we do resin rings.
Yep.
And they all take a different amount of time.
Yep.
And just from other things that I know are made, there's a couple of different stores that we've purchased from for various gifts and whatever, where people will take coins, various, from different countries, whatever, and actually mold them into rings, which I think are really cool. There's some awesome shops out there that do that. And I don't imagine that that's a quick process, and I don't imagine they're making hundreds of them ahead of time in various sizes, and
Yeah.
that inventory on that would be ridiculous.
Yep.
So they're making them to order, and there's people that do all sorts of like actual forged rings and all sorts of fancy things out there. But my point is, when you have just one category, it'd be really easy to look at analytics and say, well, this category should be able to go in X amount of time. But that's not how art is made.
No, it's not. So at the end of the article, Josh is quoted as saying, we need to do what sellers need, not want. And that's where he's referencing back to this this push to have faster shipping times and
make it Amazon like.
Yeah, and make it Amazon like or eBay like, but that's a level of arrogance, that statement. That's disappointing as an Etsy shop owner with that hat on, because that tells me that he either doesn't understand what a shop owner has to go through for their art, or he doesn't care, or both.
I also think it's a little bit narrow-minded too, because Amazon tried to create an Etsy. They made an Amazon handmade, and it's terrible. And tons of people went to that platform to try to catch more of the market, get more sales, and very few people have had success on that platform.
No, we haven't. We have some stuff on Amazon, and I'm not necessarily motivated to take it down because it's been such a flop that they still haven't turned on the monthly charge for it. they've
so we're
left
not
it
paying
free
for the listings.
Yeah, so we're not paying for it, but it hasn't taken off because they didn't approach it from this is a different animal than what we do. But he's trying to run it like he was running eBay.
Yeah.
Where, you've just got this product sitting in your garage, ship it out in 48 hours. No.
And we sell some handmade stuff on eBay as well.
Yeah.
But we don't sell everything on eBay because you have to have such a short turnaround time. No. So there's only certain items that we sell on eBay. That having been said, believe it or not, we still sell way more jewelry on eBay than we have on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
By
It's
far.
not even close. But, yeah, I think again, with the Etsy seller hat on, if the CEO keeps walking down this path that he's walking, he's going to lose a lot of good artists. And if he goes down the path too far, quite frankly, he could find that we're on the list. But that's why we have a website and other places too. This is a good business lesson. Never put all of your eggs in a single basket.
Yep.
The first thing we did once our Etsy store was established and we were happy with the art we were putting out is we created our own website.
Yep.
And we put a ton of effort into that thing, but it means that we've got to fall back in any case.
Within probably, just like 2 or 3 months of having our stuff up on Etsy, we decided to put a select amount of things up on eBay as well, because we had have had our eBay stores for forever.
Yeah. So, that's the other thing. He's got to realize that Etsy is not the only show in town. Now, I will say they have reversed course on things before.
They have. To their credit, they have admitted when things were faulty and they realized it wasn't working.
So I'm hoping that he figures out that there needs to be some level of flexibility with this stuff, because all of this, just close with this real quick because we hadn't discussed it yet. Etsy introduced something called the Star Seller Program. And it is kind of a ridiculous, impossible hurdle for 90%, if not more, of artists to reach. And it has to do with how fast you can ship, how fast you respond to people, and how good your feedback is.
We respond very quickly.
Yeah, our average response time is 6 minutes. So we're good with that. We ship when we promise, so we're fine with that. Where even we get screwed on this is with the reviews. Your review score has to be an average of 4.5 or better on a 3-month rolling.
Remember the podcast from a couple days ago when we were talking about corporate companies pushing for 5-star reviews? If you listen to that one, audience, it's the whole idea of if you don't leave a 5-star, it's in their mind equivalent to a 1.
We actually referenced Etsy in that discussion briefly.
But this is why.
Yeah. So even us, for the amount of volume that we put through, which is on the high side for Etsy, we're not the top shop by far.
And we actually get a good amount of actual review feedback, because some shops sell a lot, but nobody ever leaves reviews. We actually get people to leave reviews. Yeah,
and if you look on our Etsy store page, they display your stars based on what you average to, and we actually average to 5 stars. They like round. Mm-hmm. But our actual score, it needs to be like a 4.5. It's like a 4.2. But they display 5. So, but we don't get this cool looking star because of that. And one of the most revealing things was Etsy tells you in their official language that the Star Seller Program is not affecting your search ranking, quote unquote, at this time. But then in the Forbes article, it says, where it's a new dashboard will show vendors how they rate for customer service and satisfaction. Overachievers will get higher visibility on the site.
So that means that they're either already implementing it and just not telling the Etsy community, or it's coming soon.
Yeah, or Forbes just completely misquoted the program.
That is possible.
It's one of those, but it's interesting because it doesn't match up with the official Etsy line right now. But I do know that a lot of sellers are revolting against this too, so we'll see.
When they pushed for free shipping, they said it wasn't going to impact your sales or how you showed up in rank, except it totally did, and they highlighted every store, like every listing in the search that offered free shipping.
Yep.
So it wasn't going to affect it, but they were going to make everybody who offered it really big and bold and shiny.
Yep. God bless them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just to wrap up with our seller hat on, the current tack that this CEO has the company on is not necessarily the best one.
I think companies like this that have marketplaces that make literally, because Etsy isn't selling its own goods, it makes its money off of other sellers. Yep. Etsy needs sellers in order to continue to be profitable. And I understand that the customer is important as well. But if you piss off all your sellers, the customers have nothing to buy.
Exactly.
So I really think these type of corporations need to be a little more gentle and a little bit more understanding, at least have their ears open and be willing to hear the other side of the story.
Yep, I totally agree. And I think that's a good place to end it on. I don't even have to ask you if you have any final thoughts today, Bethy, because you just had the final thought.
I did.
So good on you. So I hope you enjoyed today's discussion and let us kind of talk about a big piece of our lives, because I think there's important business stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of how businesses run and how you can look at it from two different angles and have two different opinions. The investor side of me loves what they're doing. The business partner side of me, not so much.
Yeah.
So, It all depends on perspective, doesn't it?
It does. And if you guys have any thoughts or feedback or disagree with us wholeheartedly, let us know.
Questions at soulwisdom.com. You can also visit us online, soulwisdom.com. That is SOULE, our last name. We've got the coolest last name in the world.
We do.
Yes. Okie dokie. So we'll be back with you tomorrow, and we're going to talk about another Etsy thing, because Bethy said we will.
Yeah.
But it's kind of an interesting story, and that one is a good one to dig into, because the bigger lesson there is how to present yourself to customers.
Yes.
And there is definitely something to learn, so
Yeah.
we're going to do some learn on there.
Learn what not to do, for sure.
Exactly. So I hope the clip is still up, since we've promised this now.
Yeah.
I hope she hasn't pulled it. If not, I'll act it out.
Well, we'll have to find it. I'm sure someone somewhere internet archived it.
Hopefully. Alrighty, that's it for today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you again. Please pimp our podcast if you'd be so kind, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.